My name is Elizabeth Bennett, and I'm a 21-year-old young woman who comes from a very large family. I have three younger and one older sister, and we were raised by a wonderful father and a stubborn mother. Among my family, there are only two people who are very close to me: my father and my eldest sister Jane. Unfortunately, though, I usually disagree with my mother and my younger sisters on many occasions. The environment I grew up in teaches young girls that they should want rich husbands so that we can have a bright future. Because my family is rather poor, mother always tries to get me and my sisters to marry wealthy men. She even tried to persuade me to marry my rich cousin, but I didn't do it because I didn't love him. Unlike the other girls, I would never marry someone I don't love because I know I would be miserable if I did it. So, what did I do? I actually fell in love with a man who is rich but who also happens to love me back. I sound so lucky, but our love story isn't as simple as it seems. His name is Fitzwilliam Darcy. He is very well known for his wealth. When we first met, we didn't like each other at all. I remember he even said I wasn't pretty enough for him, which is very rude, but I was too proud and confident to be offended by that comment. After some time, Darcy noticed my qualities and fell in love with me. He then asked me to marry him, but he didn't fail to mention that he is very embarrassed by that, because I am poor and my family has very bad manners. I immediately rejected his proposal because I was offended. How could he say those things? But later, I realized he was right about my family. My eldest sister Jane and I were the only ones who were well behaved. The other ones, they always embarrassed themselves in front of people. Me and Darcy met a few times after I rejected him. I started to notice how great of a man he is, and I started to love him back. There were many people who didn't want us to marry because I was lower class, but Darcy saw in me a very suitable partner, so he made me his wife. In the end, I am very happy for marrying Darcy because he is the best choice I could have ever made for husband. I must say that my mother is very proud of me too, because she finally got to see me married to a rich husband.
My name is Darcy, Fitzwilliam Darcy. I'm a wealthy gentleman with an income exceeding £10,000 a year, and the owner of Pemberley, a large estate in Derbyshire, England. I first met Elizabeth Bennet at a ball, where I slighted her by refusing to dance with her and by making rather demeaning remarks about her while she was within earshot. Gradually I became attracted to her, and later I attempted to court her while simultaneously I was struggling against my continued feelings of superiority. Ironically, I disapproved when my friend Bingley developed serious attachment to Elizabeth's elder sister Jane, and subtly persuaded Bingley that Jane does not return his feelings, which I honestly believe. Although I did not realize it, Elizabeth's discovery of my interference in Bingley and Jane's budding relationship, and Mr. Wickham's tale of how I mistreated him, has caused her to dislike me intensely. Eventually, I declared my love for Elizabeth and offered her a proposal of marriage. I reminded her of the large gap in our social status. Elizabeth was offended and refused me, expressing her reasons for disliking me. Although that I was initially angered by Elizabeth's vehement refusal and harsh criticism, I was shocked to discover the reality of how my behavior is perceived by others, particularly Elizabeth, and I committed myself to re-evaluate my actions. A few months later, I unexpectedly encountered Elizabeth when she was visiting my estate in Derbyshire with her aunt and uncle Gardiner. Having responded to Elizabeth's criticism, I was determined to display the gentlemanlike manner she accused me of lacking, and I think that I astonished her. When I discovered that Elizabeth's little sister Lydia has fallen prey to Mr. Wickham, I tracked them down and induced Wickham to marry Elizabeth's sister. Thus I saved both Lydia and her family of social disgrace. I didn't help Lydia because I wanted Elizabeth's attention. I even tried to keep her from knowing my involvement. I also felt responsible for falling to warn Elizabeth's family and the public of Wickham's character. Lastly, I released my friend Bingley to return to Longbourn and pursue Jane, accepting my misjudgment of her character. When I accompanied Bingley to Longbourn, I couldn't hold myself, and I proposed to Elizabeth again, but this time she gladly accepted.
My name is Jane Bennet, and I'm 23 years old. I'm the eldest daughter among five of us in the family. I get along with all my sisters, but I'm on the best terms with Lizzie, the second eldest. My mom was very concerned that my sisters and I will end up alone, and when my father dies, we will have nobody to maintain us. But I believe that I made my mom's dream come true when I married Mr. Bingley. Our story was quite different, I must say. When we first met each other on the ball, we were quickly smitten. As the days went by, I felt more and more in love with him, and even though some people tried to separate us, I have not for once questioned my love for him. I knew that my family is poorer than his, and a marriage with me would not be suitable or beneficial for him, but I truly believed in our strong attachment. When we got engaged, I felt the happiest person in the world. I even asked my dear Lizzie if it is possible for me to die from happiness, and the only thing that I wanted more was to see her with such a man, who would give her all his love. I must admit that we are born for each other. My father used to say that our tempers are much alike, and that we will be cheated assiduously by our servants. We will be so generous with the rest that they will always exceed our income. He used to think that way because they believe that I see the world through rose-colored glasses. Even though this might be the truth, I think that it is of a great importance to see the best in the people. I avoid judging the others, and I always look on the bright side of the story. I'm often described as a sweet girl. The perfect woman among our society is expected to be soft-spoken, kind, considerate, intelligent, and in every way lovely. My sister says that all the world is good in my eyes, and she often criticizes me because of my weakness. My mother also says that I'm the most beautiful woman in the local Meryton neighborhood, and she is used to telling that story about a gentleman who was so much in love with me when I was 15 that she was sure that he would make me an offer, but what he did was writing me some very pretty verses. As much as I like, I cannot accept these impressions of me, and I cannot define myself, but what can I say is that I would always search for people's purity and sincerity, and I so encourage everyone to do the same.
My name is Bingley, Charles Bingley. People say that I am a handsome and friendly young man. I used to live in Derbyshire, but recently I decided to move to Hertfordshire, where I rent an estate. After a few days, my sisters, Lucia and Caroline, my best friend Mr. Darcy, and I went to a ball where I met the most beautiful girl, Miss Jane Bennet, and I fell in love with her. For a short time, I was very disappointed because my friend succeeded in persuading me that she's indifferent. Mr. Darcy was thinking that she wanted to be with me only for my fortune, because he was misled by Mrs. Bennet's words that after our marriage Jane will secure the lives of all her sisters, which proved her to be only materialistic. My sisters agreed with him, and those were against our relationship. However, everything was fine eventually. Even though I couldn't admit my feelings, I was infatuated with her beauty and perfection. A couple of days I couldn't decide how to talk to Jane, because it isn't typically for me to express my feelings and emotions. Mr. Darcy was with me the whole time. He was my supporter. Eventually, after many hours spent in thinking, I went to Bennett's house. I proposed to Jane and she replied, 1,000 times yes. This made me the happiest man in the world. People say that I am that kind of person who likes everything and everyone, which makes me sincere, nice, and cheerful. I usually cannot express my feelings, but my love for Jane made me transform myself into someone I don't know. I even said that she is the most beautiful creature I ever beheld. I believe a young, intelligent gentleman should know good manners, and should have the mastery of making exclusive compliments to young ladies as much worthy as Jane is to me. I think I'm a bit naive sometimes, because people often are telling me that I shouldn't easily believe in others' words. Also, people are making prejudice because of my fortune, which in these days is not something worth neglecting, but still I find it way more important the personality of one.
Hello everyone, I'm Mrs. Bennett and I live in Longbourn Estate. My family consists of 7 members: my husband, my 5 daughters and me. My marriage is extremely profitable. Mr. Bennett is a very wealthy man who doesn't respect or love me, and he has always been making fun of me. Despite the fact that he is an absolutely passive husband, he gives me a better future, and because of his wealthiness, I live in a rich household, but I don't like him because he doesn't care about his daughter's future. So my biggest desire is to marry all of them to wealthy men who can make their life wonderful. All of you must be interested to learn more about my strategy to marry my children. I'm noisy, foolish, and ready to put all my effort into getting my dreams come true. I'm also very emotional and sometimes a little bit irritable, but it is because of my wish to achieve my goals. I think that I'm very clever and always right because, in my opinion, I'm the only one who cares about the whole family. I'm very skeptical about everyone, and if someone wants to marry my daughters, he must meet all my criteria. In my experience, the ideal man is someone who comes from family with a high status. He must be well-mannered and he must be extremely wealthy. It's perfect for me if he always compliments my family and also has a huge household. He has to attend most of the balls with his future wife. It's no problem if he doesn't pay enough attention to her or if he isn't kind enough. I'm extremely proud of myself because I succeeded with the marriages of Elizabeth, Jane, and Lydia. My strategy with Jane and Bingley was brilliant because without my help, the relationship between them would have never happened. They are both very passive, so I was the main culprit who made them fall in love. The situation with Elizabeth and Darcy is much more complicated. She didn't want to hear my opinion and did whatever she wanted, but I'm extremely satisfied with the outcome. I'm also happy about Lydia's manner because she did what I have always wanted her to do, and because of that I'm sure that she would have a convenient life. Most of the people don't like me because of my high, unrealistic desires and because of my egocentrism. You can absolutely say that I'm vain and vulgar, but I think that I'm the proudest mother